there is value, there is imperative, crucial value in polarity. The concept of polarity. Yes, this is all rooted in levels below the state of enlightenment, that is that of the mirror consciousness. Because at some point in sixth density, these polarities come together and they merge into a state of unity, where there no longer really is the polarity. The polarity has been used up. The polarity of negative and positive, feminine and masculine, service to self, service to others, egotism versus generosity, and so forth, has been exhausted. But for the vast majority of people, it is a crucial tool to accelerate their spiritual journey. One way in which they describe this, and I have adopted this term as well because I think it's very precise. Another way to describe the spiritual journey is the accumulating of spiritual mass. So again, like I said, we're going to go through quite a few concepts here, but I'm going to try to make it accessible. Spiritual mass. So in a sense, you could say, the more we are 3D focused, the more we are sort of a materialistic orientation, of a Newtonian, skeptical, realistic, 3D bound orientation. And we're just kind of, maybe we're not super selfish people in our intention, like we don't try to become, the next dictator or anything, or we don't want to enslave other people to our will. So we're not like extremely negatively oriented, but we're also not activated on a path of service to others. Most of our concerns are about ourselves. Most of our actions are about how can I secure my own position and so on. This is sort of an innocent form of egotism, an innocent, ignorant form of service to self. So it doesn't quite classify as being actually, consciously, deliberately service to self-oriented. And I'll make that distinction a little clearer later on. But so for now, there is a polarity. There's a polarity between positivity or radiance or giving or generosity or overflowing or moving intentionally towards the benefit of others, which includes the self. But the intent is benefit of all. It's a radiant energy. It's a positive energy. It's a service to others energy. It's a generous energy. Radiance summarizes it well. Versus the negative path is that of absorption. It is that of extracting from others. It's that of getting. It's that of, in the extreme cases, enslavement of others, dominating over others, getting power from others, so to speak. So there's the polarity of service to self, and there's the polarity of service to others. But you can also just call them positive and negative, plus and minus, radiance and absorption. And here it already becomes more practical. Like, how often during the day are we radiating? Are we actually pausing our own selfish bubble, even if we're not a psychopath that is set on dominating or enslaving others? So we're not deliberately, consciously service to self. We're not deliberately negative, but still we carry a lot of the negative traits in a sort of not so powerful fashion. It's not extremely polarized. We're not polarized negatively, intensely. Therefore, it doesn't carry a lot of power. Therefore, we don't attain, say, the wealth and the power and the influence that, say, a dictator reaches, which is an example of someone who's polarized, who has gained spiritual mass along the path of deliberate service to self, deliberate absorption. This is not the state of most humans. Most humans are actually inclined towards the positive path. They're actually inclined towards service to others. But because of all the conditioning and because of all the complacency and because of the lack of spiritual mass having been accumulated, which I'll clarify in a little bit, because of a lack of polarity, which equals the power to do work, the power, like if you look at polarity in electricity, without polarity, there is no charge. Right? There is no charge, and if there's no charge, there's no work. So spiritual mass describes the spiritual or metaphysical equivalent sort of that principle of you need polarity to have charge in order to do work, in order to generate experiences, and so on. So along the negative path up to sixth density, and along the positive path up to sixth density, although the positive path continues beyond sixth density, it's simply that the negative path cannot sustain itself in sixth density. Along that journey, we gain spiritual mass. We gain polarity. Therefore, we gain charge. We gain spiritual power. We gain knowledge. We gain willpower. We gain discipline. We gain the ability to direct our attention, our concentration, our consciousness. We gain self-knowledge. We become clearer and clearer, more and more deliberate. And through that deliberateness, through transcending or transmuting sort of the muddy, confused, complacent stuff that we're born with and that we inherit from our parents and our environment, by alchemizing that, by making that conscious and deliberate, we naturally begin to gain spiritual mass. And you see this in people that are not spiritually versed. Some of the influencers or inspiring people, they've accumulated quite a bit of spiritual mass just by having an interest in a particular lifestyle, or not so much lifestyle, but they have a passion for something and they maybe create a company out of it. And then they're having to meet other selves all the time and they have to make all these choices. It's an active, entrepreneurial, if you will, empowerment, inspiring lifestyle that requires one to gain self-knowledge, requires one, asks of oneself to continuously, day by day, apply oneself, concentrate, learn lessons, and so forth. That is an active, deliberate lifestyle. Therefore, it gains spiritual mass, unbeknownst to the participant. Whereas someone in a more typical state, where there's not really a lot of passion activated for anything, where there's not really a lot of application, where there's a comfort zone, that's a large demographic on Earth right now that kind of falls in between the service to self, polarity gaining path, and the service to others, polarity gaining path. So they're not gaining polarity along either pathway, neither positive nor negative. So they're not developing a lot of charge. Therefore, they don't have the ability to change their lives very rapidly. Everything is slow, condensed. The vibration slows down. There's no charge. There's no aliveness. There's no vibrancy. There's no spiritual power. Therefore, whatever is, and continues to repeat itself because there's no change. There's no charge, right? The light just doesn't burn as bright with less charge. So polarity, although yes, it's rooted in the illusion of duality, it is one of the means in which the Creator accelerates its path to knowing itself, which ultimately the polarities are released in sixth density, commensurate state of consciousness, which is the state of unity, of love and wisdom. It's the state of the integrated soul, the unified self that has integrated all of its components, that's aware of itself in full glory. The individuated spark of I am that is self-realized to that degree anyway. It's not yet quite equal to the God state, but it's that sort of coming together point of all the polarities and all the lessons into that singular point that then will lead into a desire beyond that to merge with the Creator for that true unity experience.